Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to part 4 of my Animal Crossing New Horizons completion saga. I told you wouldn't have to wait as long between uploads this time and I was right. I actually stuck to my word for once. As always, if you do enjoy, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe, maybe comment. It's one of those things that you don't realize until you start doing it, but these things do help me out massively. They are a huge motivation for me to keep going and keep uploading these videos, so any amount of help is supported. Anyway, I'm going to quit my yapping and we're just going to get straight into it. Today when I checked my mail, I was bombarded by letters from people and even some gifts, but unfortunately it was all junk except this globe, which is kind of cool. I went to go put some stuff in my storage and you might notice my floor is covered in turnips. I was planning on doing some turnip selling between streams, but I hadn't got around to it just yet. Just kidding, it's because I absolutely fucking love turnips. When I was running around, I saw that someone was at my campsite and it was no one other than Jeremiah. I love this guy and I was absolutely gutted I could not bring him onto my island. And then something huge happened. I went to my museum to assess some fossils and I saw that Blathers had a thought bubble above his head, and that can only mean one thing: Brewster. When you speak to Blathers, he tells you he wants to open a cafe to attract more customers, and that he's tried to contact his barista friend Brewster, but he can't get hold of him, and that's where we come in. Blathers wants us to go find Brewster on an island we can only get to through Captain's boat service. Oh yeah, side note, I've unlocked Captain's boat service because I hit 3 stars. Anyway, and that is because Brewster obsesses over these things called gyroids. And there have been rumors of these gyroids on these islands. And if you've never played these games before, you're probably thinking, what the fuck is a gyroid? Has this guy lost his mind? Well, gyroids are these little things that make music, noise. I'm not really sure what I'd call it, but you find gyroid fragments the same way you find fossils, except you dig them up, rebury them, water them, and the next day you have a fully grown gyroid. Anyways, Blathers gives us a photo of Brewster and we're off on our journey to find him and bring him to Pickle Land. But before I left, I had to donate an ant and 2 more fossils I found. And then we were off. After speaking with Captain, he lets me on his boat for 1,000 Nook miles. The man drives a hard bargain, but it's what we gotta do for the goat, I guess. After listening to his fun yet obnoxious singing, we were finally at the island, and that's when I see him. The goat. My goat. Brewster. So when I speak to him to let him know Blathers sent me, he gives me a gyroid fragment, which I am so excited for. I love gyroids. And the only problem with this is the last thing he says to me is, I'll be seeing you. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that's not 100% confirmation that he's coming to my island. So I speak to him again. And he says, give Blathers my best. So I speak to him again. And he finally gives me the answer I've been looking for. It's like trying to get blood out of a stone, man, I swear. While I'm on the island, I decided to have a wander around, and I did manage to dig myself up another gyroid fragment, but there wasn't much else here, so I decided to head home. When I got back, I planted my gyroid fragments, and I cannot wait to see what they grow into. I speak to Blathers about what Brewster said, and he informs me we will have to close the museum for a day while he gets things ready for his arrival. So before he closes, I assess 2 more fossils and donate them both as they're both new. While I'm running around collecting my fruit, Celia ambushes me and teaches me the please reaction, which is by far the most boring one. Thanks, Celia. Finally, to end the recording, I time traveled to finally sell those turnips I have hoarded in my house, where I end up selling them for 165 bells per turnip. I do not remember how much I bought them for, but I know that I made a shit ton of profit. I mean, come on, just look at that number. I then used that money to pay off my house loan, and that's where I called it a night. I opened my game to Isabelle giving me the same goddamn speech about Red's boat. Do you think I am some kind of rookie? I know what I'm doing. Anyway, I checked on my gyroids to see they'd grown into a xylophoid and an arphoid. Now, last time I upgraded my house to give myself a spare room at the back, and I told you you'd have to wait to find out what the room was for. Well, the wait is over. This room is going to be my gyroid shrine room. Every gyroid I get will go in here no matter what. Kicking the collection off with these bad boys. After that, I ran around to do some chores, and I decided to start growing my first money tree. I don't normally grow money trees, I don't need them, but I thought, fuck it, why not? I also managed to catch myself this giant water bug, and I checked on my flowers to see I had my first new flower in a long time, the black rose, which is arguably one of my favorites. Ignoring Isabelle's useless advice, I headed to Red's boat, and I bought this common painting. I then went to go shake some trees to find my item, but instead I found 2 back-to-back wasps' nests. Lucky me. And when I finally did find the item, it was a mountain bike. The logistics of that baffle me, but this is a game where I live on an island with talking animals, so I'm not going to question it too hard. I decided it was time to finally check out the long-anticipated cafe that's opened in the museum. I head on in and grab myself a nice hot cup of coffee from the best barista in all the land. Now, I was going to say I have a love-hate relationship, but that's not true. It's a love-fear relationship with Brewster, and I'm only going to give you one hint as to why. Anti-piracy screen. And if you know, you know, and if you don't know, consider yourself lucky. That shit traumatized me. After doing some chores, I ran into Flora, who said she was thinking of leaving the island. Now, since this was recorded in August, I have no idea why I told her not to go, but my best guess is that I either needed some more reactions from her or we were really close to being best friends. I headed to the Nook stop and finally bought the waterscaper permit after saving up my Nook miles for what feels like forever. I then spent more of my precious Nook miles miles on a set of reactions, but this was definitely worth it because I get some of my favorite reactions here. I then spent even more miles on some cooking recipes, which I just did not need yet, but I just bought anyway for some reason. And finally, to end the night, I caught and donated this giant stag. Today on my island, it was the bug off, which I genuinely could not care less about, but I took part in it anyway just to tick off one of my Nook Miles achievements. When I checked on my flowers today, I saw that my white roses have formed purple roses, and my red and yellow roses are giving me some orange roses. These are both essential flowers for breeding, as these give you red roses, but not your regular red roses. I call these hybrid reds, which when you breed them will give you blue roses, which are some of the hardest flowers in the entire game to get. I think that's right, flower breeding is still something I absolutely do not understand whatsoever, so I'm trying my best. I then went to the museum, donated 2 new fossils and the painting I got from Red the other day, and then I headed to get a cup of coffee. And I will be doing this every day because I need it for Nook Miles achievements, and also you do get some other little fun things later on. I'm going to keep that secret for now. I headed to the shop and bought myself some red and white hyacinths for flower breeding, and even more cooking recipes that I just do not need. Why do I keep doing this? After that, I headed to my house and grabbed some fish bait and tried to catch myself some ocean fish, so I settled in by the pier. Unfortunately, I forgot that I just unlocked cooking recipes, and I kept getting new cooking recipes every single time. But in the end, it was worth it because I caught a giant trevally. When I ran out of bait, I headed back to my house and decided to try and put some of these useless fish I caught to some good use by putting them into some of the cooking recipes I just unlocked. I ended up crafting sardines in oil and barred knife jaw carpaccio. Yum, my favorite. I donated the fish that I caught and some more fossils to the museum, and I finished off my day by heading to Halves Island, and I did this Photopia workshop thing, which felt useless, but it means next time when I come, things will actually get good. I started off today with a huge investment of 150,000 bells worth of turnips. They were 100 each, and that might seem like a bad investment, but just trust me on this one. I then did my regular time traveling shenanigans to every morning and afternoon, eventually selling them for 191 each, giving me a nice profit. I headed to the Nook stop to deposit my profits, and I am officially an Animal Crossing millionaire for the first time in my life. Oh yeah. I headed back to my normal time and had mail from Daisy May, and enclosed was a recipe for jarred bamboo roots. I don't know about you guys, but I expected a recipe involving turnips, but never let them know your next move, I guess. I then headed to the plaza because KK Slider was there, so I sat and let him play his music while I watched the credits roll again. I noticed a bit later on that it was a shooting star not on my island, which is a blessing and a curse. Don't get me wrong, I love shooting stars, but it means I basically get nothing else done because I'm so focused on these shooting stars. I then tried to sort out this huge area where I'm breeding flowers by digging up certain sets I don't need anymore. I really just wanted to save space and potentially breed new sets of flowers. I went and spoke to Tom Nook about building a new bridge somewhere on my island, and I honestly think deciding on a design for your bridge is harder than deciding on the placement. I eventually decided on this brick bridge which I placed just next to my house and paid off in full straight away. Not to flex. After that, I headed to Halves Island again, where I found him and his girlfriend? Question mark? At the back of the island. This is where Harv explains co-ops to me and tells me I'll need to donate bells to get them, obviously. What would this island do without me, man? I run around and speak to all the Lloyds, seeing which co-ops they're offering, and the co-ops that are offered are a mysteriously accurate fortune teller, a merchant offering mysterious rugs and wallpaper, an old-timer who gives us access to our home storage, I will be leaving that one for last, I do not care, a talented husband and wife furniture refurbishment team, a botany expert with the greenest of thumbs, a legitimate art dealer, and a dapper dealer of shoes and handbags. I will eventually end up buying them all, but to start, I'm going to get Red's co-op up and running, because that is the most important one for me. When I headed home, I did a spot of diving and managed to catch myself a mantis shrimp and a horseshoe crab, which I was very happy with. After donating these, I headed to Brewster for my daily cup of coffee. However, I'm not sure if I advise having coffee this late. My poor village is going to be tweaking out all night. I headed back into the water for a bit, but I only really ran into Pascal, so I just called it a night. I started my day by digging up 2 new gyroids, the Crumploid and the Oinkoid, and these will look great in my shrine room. I then shook a sleeping bag out of a tree in case, you know, I feel like being homeless tonight, and then I ran into Whitney, who taught me the amazed reaction. While I was running around, I shot down a balloon which had one of my favorite recipes in it, the Shell Wand, and this wand alongside the Star Wand lets you change outfits whenever you want, and I always find it really fun because if I want to change outfit, then I can just, boom, do it. I managed to donate a new fossil to the museum, and I checked on my flowers to see I'd made another red hybrid pansy. I ran into Flora, and she tried to give me this tea dress, so I gifted it straight back to her, and she seemed to love it, and in return she gave me a football, which I was much happier with. I then headed to Halves Island to unlock a new co-op in the form of Leaf, and to check out my newly opened co-op Red, where I bought this new detailed painting. I then headed home and changed my time to later on in the day, as I wanted to try and catch the last 2 critters that would go out of season at the end of August, the vampire squid and the scarab beetle. And this is the start of something I'm going to call the beetle squid saga, and that is nowhere near as fun as it sounds, trust me. If I ever have to try and catch one of these again, I will lose my mind. All I did for the rest of this stream was run around Nook Miles Islands, aimlessly searching for these critters. I'd run around the island and then get bored and swim in the sea, then I'd go back and forth with nothing until this happened.
was it? Oh, for fuck's sake.
So after wallowing in self-pity for about 5 minutes, I decided to cut down all the trees at the top just to avoid that ever happening again. Unfortunately, after an hour of searching, I didn't find either, so I headed home, turned off my game, and went to bed, feeling defeated. Today I started my day by getting a nice hot cup of coffee from Brewster, and when I went in I saw that Rossetti was there, which means absolutely nothing outside the fact that I like Rossetti, despite all the trauma I watched him give my sister in Wild World. I then shut this throwback container out of a tree, making that only the 10th item. This is going to take me forever. I was gonna ask KK Slider to perform for me, but he basically told me to fuck off, so I made him move and participate in my group stretching. If I have to suffer, you have to suffer too. I then bought a Nookmal's ticket and headed to later on in the evening, 11 PM to be exact, to once again try and catch these critters. Before I headed off, I ate some food to dig up some of my trees to bring to a Nookmal's island with me, just to give that scarab beetle a higher chance of spawning. When I got there, I put down my spare palm trees and cut down the trees on the higher levels because knowing my luck, one would spawn up there and I would miss it, or I'd scare it off again, and I do not want to do that. Eventually I got bored, so I went in the ocean, and then I got bored of that and went back on the island, and back and forth, just like yesterday. And again, just like yesterday, I caught absolutely nothing, so I went to bed feeling defeated again by a goddamn beetle and a fucking squid, but I will not let them defeat me. Today was the start of September on my island, meaning two things. Acorns, apparently, and also that I've technically missed my window to catch the scarab beetle and vampire squid, but don't you worry, I've got my ways of getting about this. All will be revealed later on. It being a new month, however, means a whole new bunch of critters for me to catch, like the yellow butterfly and the common butterfly, which are so common, it completely slipped my mind that I hadn't managed to catch them yet. Leaf was on my island today, but he didn't really have much that I wanted, so I just grabbed some carrots. I don't really know why. I spoke to Tom Nook about building another bridge on my island, so I chose another brick bridge, put it here, although I did have to do a bit of landscaping for it to fit. After that, I headed to Harv's Island to build another co-op, and this time I chose Reese and Cyrus's co-op to build. I'm not really sure how useful they'll be for me, but I did say I wanted to build them all, so before I left, I went to Red's and bought the scary painting as well. When I was back on my island, I was chatting to my villagers and I went to go see Phoebe, and I got the Nookmal's achievement for true friends, meaning Phoebe is my first best friend on the island. I then cleaned up my flower breeding area by digging up and selling some of the ones I didn't need anymore, and I brought my roses down from the cliffside to be with the rest of them. I also managed to catch some new fish for this month, including the king salmon, which I did not expect to catch today. And after all the excitement of the new season, I called it a day and I gave up on the squid and beetle I was so desperate to catch in August. Or so you thought. You really thought I'd give up that easy? No. Later that night, I time traveled back to August 31st, and I refused to stop until I'd caught them both. So I did the usual, headed to a Nookmal's island, and stayed there until I brought them both home. And when I got there, it was a bamboo island, which was perfect because it meant the scarab beetle could only spawn on the 4 palm trees I'd brought, meaning there was such a smaller chance of ever scaring it away if it spawned. And I'm not even joking, 3 minutes in, it spawned. That beautiful silver beetle I'd been so desperate to catch. Finally, I had it, and I was over the fucking moon. 1 down, 1 to go. I jumped straight in the ocean, and I knew I wasn't leaving until I caught it. Except I did, because I realized I could just do this on my own island, so I did head home. But then I jumped straight in my own ocean, and I wasn't leaving until I caught it for real this time. And during this whole process, I'd like you all to know, I caught not 1, not 2, but 3 Gigas giant clams before I caught a single fucking vampire squid. What the fuck? And after nearly 5 hours of searching, I'd finally caught it. It was nearly 3 in the morning, and I had never, ever been more relieved to see a squid in my life. And finally, I can put an end to the beetle squid saga once and for all. After last night's shenanigans, I was quite tired, so I just had a chill day today. I finally built my shell wand and put together an outfit to register, and right as I was about to leave my house, fucking Phoebe just invited herself into my house. Fuck's sake, Phoebe. I know we're best friends now, but that does not mean you get to just wander into my house. Eventually, she left, and I could just get on with my day. First thing I did was run into Celia, and she taught me the Glee reaction. I then managed to donate 2 new fossils, which this late on into donating fossils is so nice because it is so hard to get 2 new ones on the same day. I then went for my daily coffee, and Rooster gave me the recipe for this Roost Sablé cookie, which is very cute. I headed over to Harv's Island and saw my newly built co-op Leaf's truck had come, so I bought some pumpkins and some red, white, and orange windflowers. I also saw that Reese and Cyrus had opened up their truck, but I don't think I'll end up doing much with them. I then bought the other co-op that lets you access your home storage, but again, I don't think I'll use that one too much. I headed home and went to the shop, and I saw that there were mums on sale, which is great because getting all the variants for this is super hard, so I really need to start this one ASAP. I then did a little bit of landscaping and pushed both these cliffs back just a little bit. And the main reason I cleared this area out is because this is where I plan on moving my home in the coming days. And this is where I think I'll stay permanently for the rest of my playthrough. And you know what? I think it'll be nice, you know, have my own little private beach. I can decorate the area nicely, no annoying neighbors. I'm looking forward to it. I opened my game today and I was low-key confused because I forgot I'd moved my house, but it was a nice surprise. I really like this location. It had been a few weeks since I'd been on my island because of, you know, the Great Flood. So there were a couple of weeds on my island, but I managed to clean them up pretty quickly. I was running across my beach and I saw Gulliver was laying there, and that Nookmoz achievement that I need to do was just looming over me and haunting me, but I still ignored him. That's a problem for future me. I then headed to Halves Island and I picked up the left half of the wild painting, and then I built Sahara's co-op. Heading home, I went straight to Tom Nook and expanding my home again for a small fee of just over 500,000 bells. I also did a little bit of diving, but I didn't catch anything new, so I just headed to bed. Bloody hell, that was a long nap. Yes, as you can see, things do look a little bit different around here, and that is because I may or may not have taken 4 months off playing Animal Crossing because I got a bit too busy. My bad, guys. Anyways, after going through the mountains of mail I'd been left, I then managed to get on with my day. I tried to make it up to my villagers by bribing them with gifts, and it honestly seemed to work. I first went into Buzz and I accidentally tried to gift in my paying guy needed to donate, but luckily they don't let you do that, thank God. I also completely forgot that because I've been away for so long and I have a million weeds to dig up, but that never takes me long to clear up anyway. That's not that big of a deal. A new season does mean new creatures though, and I managed to catch myself some new stuff like a damselfly and dung beetle. I donated my new bugs, painting, and a new fossil I found before heading to Blathers for a coffee. I then headed home and I put my new gyros down, and I must say I'm a huge fan of the Tremoloid. He is weird and I fuck with him. I collected all my fruit, but before selling it, I wanted to try something out. You see, for a Nookmoz achievement, you have to make 1,000 recipes or something ridiculous like that, but I didn't know if these had to be unique recipes, so I crafted myself a couple orange juices to see if these all counted, and they did. So for the next 3 fruit harvests, I'm going to save all my oranges and just spam orange juices in my kitchen. And I'm telling you what, this little guy will not be getting scurvy anytime soon. I then bit the bullet and did some group stretches because I know I have to do them. But it never says I have to participate, so I just stood still and let it happen. I also dived, but I only managed to catch myself a sea cucumber. I then did something crazy and I built myself a snowboard, and I honestly don't know why. I fucking hate these guys, but I think I did it because I thought I needed the Nookmoz for it, and I in fact did not, so that was a waste of my time. I headed into resident services and I was ambushed by Tom Nook talking about my house upgrade, and he tells me that I can now start customizing the outside of my house, which doesn't really interest me, but I know I need to do it for Nook stamps, so I'm glad to have it unlocked now. I closed off the day by heading to Halves Island and building my penultimate kelp, Katrina, and that's where I ended it for the day. Thank you guys for watching part 4. Like I said at the beginning, like, subscribe, comment, all that shit really helps me out. Really appreciate the support I've been getting on these videos recently. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, that was pretty much it. Bye.